I once knew a guy who invented a vertical bed. He was convinced that sleeping standing up was the key to peak productivity and spinal alignment. He used heavy-duty Velcro straps to pin himself to a padded board leaning against the wall. He woke up 2 hours later when the Velcro failed, and he face-planted onto the hardwood floor. He claimed his body just wasn't evolved enough for the future of sleep yet, then went back to his traditional mattress for a very long nap. I was working at a chain pizzeria. I remember one Sunday afternoon. A couple came in, got seated, ordered food, etc. About half an hour later, they started shouting at each other. Apparently, they had selected our little franchise as the place to sort out their differences, and things soon got ugly. The guy then got up to leave, but unfortunately, they had driven to the restaurant together. So, he did the logical thing and called the police to get a ride home. Cops showed up, but to give the guy a warning about why you use emergency services, and rides home weren't on that list. The couple then left together, yelling all the way. I was working an escape room, and a bachelorette party came in. The bride-to-be was in a sash and tiara. They all had the matching t-shirts, the works. Anyway, their room had little Buddha statues as part of the decor. One of the girls pointed to one statue and said to the bride-to-be, "Look, it's your fiancé." Everyone had a good laugh, except the betrothed, who was obviously steaming mad. They tried to go back to the game, but the bride-to-be just stood in a corner, quivering her lip. After a good 15 minutes, the one who made the joke stormed over and yelled in her face, "It's not that serious. Get over it." The sash-wearing, tiara-clad woman swung on her friend. Next thing you know, it's a storm of fists. I called the manager, who got security, and they physically dragged the women outside. Once they were on the sidewalk, they started their brawl up again, giving a great show to everyone at the Cici's Pizza next door. The best part was that they eventually stopped smashing each other long enough to come back and ask for a refund, since they had only used a quarter of the time they paid for. My manager said they were lucky we didn't call the cops. Good times. I worked for an insurance company years back. We often wrote business owner policies, which protect a business against financial loss due to natural disasters, stolen property, vandalism, and the like. One time I had a potential customer call and ask if his porn business would be covered under such a policy if his main male star couldn't produce. I sent that one up to management, so I have no idea what, sorry to have to say this, came of it. Is this chicken vegan? I've heard a lot of stupid questions from customers over the years, but that was one of my favorites by far. I'm a deli clerk. One day, a customer asked for some sliced ham. I first had to go back and forth with him. I want the one that's on sale. Which one? There are 3. That one. I can't see what you're pointing at. Finally, we figured out what he wanted. But then he stopped and asked, "Wait, what is ham made out of?" Me, ham? It's pork. Him, "Oh, I don't like pork. Do you have any ham that isn't made out of a pig?" I told him no, and he said to forget it, and walked out. My brother invented a weightless backpack by tying 12 giant helium balloons to his school bag. He thought the lift from the helium would make his heavy textbooks feel like nothing. It worked for about 10 seconds until a breeze caught the balloons. His backpack, containing his laptop and all his homework, was lifted off his shoulders and drifted away over the school roof. We found it 2 days later in a tree 3 miles away. He had to explain the physics experiment to his teacher. When I was working at the office of a campground, a guy came in one day and said that he and his wife were ready to check out. Him: "I want to know what kind of refund we get since it rained all weekend." 9. I refrained from suggesting he ask God, since the rain was his fault anyway. I work in a restaurant. One Saturday, around 3-ish, a guy came in and explained to the staff that he was coming in later that night with a date. He wanted them to come out with an expensive appetizer and say, "Oh, hello, mister," his name. "It's so nice to see you again. This is compliments of the owner." The waitress gave him a blank look, so he explained the whole thing again, emphasizing that he would actually pay for the appetizer, but to just make it look like they were giving it to him for free. We then had to explain that our entire staff would change between now and then, and that this was a restaurant, not a community theater. He got angry and never showed up that night. I'm a bank manager. One time, I had to call a customer after she had deposited a check into her account. The check was hers, drawn from the same account she had deposited it into. On the check, someone had scribbled out our customer's name and entered a different name. The customer said, "Oh, that's okay. My friend owed me money, but had run out of checks, so I gave her one of mine to use to pay me back." This grown woman didn't understand that just writing your name on someone else's check wouldn't magically draw funds from your bank. The woman who had scribbled her name on it didn't even have an account at our bank. Ouch. A customer once left an online review that our ice arena was too cold and we needed to do something to make it more comfortable for visitors. Our ice arena. She was too cold around the ice. Make it make sense. I was bartending, and there was a couple at the bar on their first date. By their third drink, they started making out. The dude then started sucking on her finger. He must have noticed that she wasn't into it because he started crying, loud enough for other customers to hear, and then got up, ran out of the bar, and bolted down the street. She just paid their tab and left. He then came back 2 weeks later. I pretended not to recognize him, but he asked, "Didn't you serve me while I was on a date a few weeks ago?" I just shrugged and said I serve a lot of people. Him: "You don't remember. I cried and ran away." Dude, when someone gives you an out, take it.